Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, friend.
Hello, my friend.
We are also joined by our podcasting brother from another mother, Adam Riske from F This Movie. Hello, friend.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. We're so happy you're here. This is like our favorite thing when Adam comes on and we talk about 90s thrillers.
Viva la 90s thriller.
And we are talking about 1990s Pacific Heights. It's directed by John Schlesinger. Schlesinger. See, I want to joke that I do that shit on purpose, but I don't. I really can't pronounce anyone's names. I'm going to get this part right, though. It stars Melanie Griffith. I got that right, right? Okay. Matthew Modine and Michael Keaton. Is that right?
Yes.
Keaton? Okay. And Laurie Metcalf and Beverly D'Angelo, looking so sexy. Did either of you see Pacific Heights in the theater? Adam, you probably weren't even born yet, right?
That's not true. I was 8 when this came out, and I have a really vivid memory of seeing the review on Siskel and Ebert and being super interested in seeing the movie because it had Bruce Wayne in it. And then it played at this one theater that I went to called the Liberty 1 and 2 in suburban Illinois. And that theater was where I saw like all my kids' movies growing up. So I know that there was one time where I was there to see a kids' movie, and then the other theater was Pacific Heights. And I was like, man, I wish I were an adult.
And now you are one.
And now I am one.
I totally didn't put it together that the year before this he was Batman. So there were probably like a ton of kids that really wanted to see Pacific Heights.
Yeah, I had a big thing where I was just like, I want to see Clean and Sober now. And it's like, go to third grade.
I can't wait to see One Good Cop.
Yeah.
Margo,
it's like, why are all my favorite actors in drug movies? Oh, yeah, because it's the late 80s.
Oh, my gosh. That's right. Clean and Sober played at my theater. Of course it did. And I think right around that time was also The Boost with like James Woods and Sean Young. And I was like, yeah, we sure do get a lot of these movies.
Yeah. Did you get Bright Lights, Big City?
I don't think so. Actually, I may not have been working at the theater at that time. What year did that come out?
I think 87.
Oh,
that was another one where
right before.
I was 5 and I was just like, it's got family ties in it. I don't care if he's on drugs.
I'm going to see Bright Lights, Big City, and Light of Day. It's going to be awesome.
Yep.
Margo, did you see it in the theater?
I don't remember seeing it in the theater, so it might have been something I got on VHS instead.
I 100% saw this in the theater because it played at my theater. So I've seen parts of it a lot and probably sat through the whole thing one time. I just wanted to mention right off the bat, I love the opening moments of this movie because like a really like 90s sax solo starts and I was like, oh, we're going to get nudity. And we did. It was like such a giveaway. I was like, oh, that's right. We're going to see boobs. Sax solo is a giveaway, always.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer does the score for this movie. And when he's not in like an action thriller, it's almost like he can't help himself and he'll like insert action thriller into it. Like there's no subtlety to his game, especially in this movie.
There's no subtlety in this movie.
No.
I was a little disappointed that they kind of reveal that Michael Keaton is the bad guy right off the bat. And I know it's not fair to the movie to like rewrite it, but I was thinking how much better it would be if we didn't know if Michael Keaton was a bad guy until he moved in.
It is weird how they structure it where, I mean, it's kind of amusing. It's like, wow, he really just got right to work, didn't he? But I did know, to your point, I mean, like, you know, one of the key things with suspense is like, it's the rubber band. You have to keep pulling and pulling and pulling. And with this, it's just like, it is what it is, like immediately. So it's more, just escalation,
Yeah.
even though
Mhm.
like there's like very little setup. It's just immediately escalation.
Yeah, like we're like already ahead of Melanie Griffith and Matthew Modine because we know he's a bad guy and we're just watching them make bad choices. And I couldn't help but think it would be better if, I don't know, he'd been a little bit more cool and suave and you could see how he could get them to rent to
Yeah.
him.
The problem
Yeah.
with this story is Matthew Modine is the most useless
Oh my
husband, boyfriend, boss, landlord.
What are you talking about, Margo?
He's like a soccer dad that just loses his shit all the time. You can't reason with him. And so it's like the last third of the movie, Melanie Griffith, they finally like, oh wow, we have somebody who could really act and do it, fix things here. And they send her up, and that part's great. Like the last third of this movie is really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's the setup leading to it. It's just like I don't see their chemistry together at all. I don't think. You always ask, are the couple together? No. There's no way these people stay together. Even though they tell us they get married at the end by showing his wedding band, I don't believe there's anything there. I think he's a fool, and he's racist, by the way. Like right off the bat,
right?
The one a black person applies, and he goes, "Oh, he's one of those minority scam artists." I wrote it down. I'm like, he's a what?
I'm like, that is not a thing. That's not a thing. He's useless, and he doesn't deserve her. That's what I wrote in my notes. I was like, he doesn't deserve her because she's super smart. Like she's on to Michael Keaton from the second she meets him.
Right.
And he's like, I'm sure it'll be fine. And he's like too polite to like kick him out right away. I don't know. It's very strange. He is so useless.
He got a boner just looking at his wallet when he's like looking at all the $100 bills in the wallet. And it's like, he won't give you a credit report. Like that's a big red flag.
Yes.
There's a lot of red flags there. And here's another thing I don't believe. In San Francisco, people are always looking for apartments. Well, right now, sure. Mm-hmm. We have COVID, but in 1990, there were people looking for apartments.
Yes.
They like to stay in San Francisco. It's a beautiful city. They would be going through a stack of applications.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
There's, so the fact that Michael Keaton can drive in his 1977 hot rod, pulls up and opens up his wallet, and Matthew goes, sign on the dotted line. See you soon, neighbor. And just, it's just appalling. He's so worthless. He's useless.
It is a thing here, especially when like we had like a .com boom that was after this. And then
after that,
and then kind of in 2010 and on, like we kind of the housing market here got really intense, and there was like kind of this battle to get apartments where like people who work at like Twitter and Facebook were showing up and like offering like months in advance cash to rent apartments and kind of outbidding people like me, basically, who were like, I could barely afford first and last, but I'm totally going to do it because I want this apartment. And they're like, I can afford like 6 months right now. Here's cash. Like this was a thing that was happening, but the idea that somehow they're going to struggle to fill those apartments, that they have like 3 people that they're choosing from,
right,
is comical. And similar to single white female, I think the lesson here is run a credit check.
Yes.
Well, even just the fact that he couldn't verify anything or run a credit check should have been enough to like immediately rule him out.
Yes.
I don't get that part of it either, because like the only reason why Michael Keaton was able to get into the apartment was because he was still kind of in the running for it.
Yes.
It's so weird. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, there's a couple of things I want to comment on of stuff you said already. I feel like John Schlesinger maybe was using a thriller as like a backdoor way to talk about like racial discrimination with the renting process, because that part of the movie is so out. It's just kind of like antithetical with the rest of it, that he seems to be making a point in some way, which I think, like, if so, nice job. At least the movie kind of is about something for a few minutes. But it's just so weird, and like it immediately makes you side with, if not just Melanie Griffith, but almost with Michael Keaton in a way, because you want to see him put the screws to Matthew Modine.
Because he's such a moron.
Matthew Modine's the real villain of the movie.
He really is.
Like, he's just like frothing at the mouth, like the moment the locks were changed. And he's doing this in front of like Mako and his wife and stuff. I'm just like, if I saw that and I were them, I'd be like, our landlord's crazy.
Yeah. We're splitting.
Yeah, you don't blame them when they leave. That's for sure.
No.
She even says, you signed a lease. Like, yeah, you brought roaches into our lives. We have a lunatic who's locked himself with somebody who looks like Jamie Sheridan, but isn't Jamie Sheridan, into that, and screws and everything's going off all night long. Like, yeah, we're going to break our lease. Good luck trying to get the money. Oh, God, it's so frustrating.
There's also a scene where Matthew Modine is trying to confirm the credit check and employment history and all these things, and he's like, well, maybe you could tell me why Mr. Hayes would put you as a reference if you're not his reference. And it's like, because he's fucking lying, dum-dum.
Right.
That's why.
Just yells and curses that person out. Who didn't do anything wrong except answer the phone that day. I mean, and his employees are looking at him like, who's this lunatic?
Also,
who's a child?
Oh my gosh,
I mean, he's such a man baby.
We have so many things to say.
Yeah, Modine reminds me of like one of those people in 2020 where like they do something crazy and then they post it on Facebook and they're like, find this person, and then he loses his kite business. Like, he's the most violent person ever to own a kite business. And he's got like the upstairs office like he's George Banks and Father of the Bride at the shoe factory.
I don't understand. That's the other thing. I was like, okay, so she teaches horse riding and does he own the kite business? And I'm like, these are people who could buy a house in San Francisco.
I think she's the one that doesn't make as much. I think she teaches horse lessons and he's the one who has a business. But, it's expensive to run a business. You have to sell a lot of kites to be able to afford a mansion in San Francisco. I mean, that's a really big house.
That's a really big house.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, and like it's what is it, $700,000?
$750, yeah.
That'd be $2 million today's dollars.
So I looked it up, and the house.
Oh, good, thank you.
Okay, so I totally dorked out on the house, and I looked it up. I found the address, and I went on Zillow and looked it up, and now the house is estimated at $3.7 million.
Wow.
It is really expensive. It's not in Pacific Heights. It's in Potrero Hill, and that's why it has that beautiful view of San Francisco. Potrero Hill has a beautiful view, and it was also used for several episodes of Nash Bridges.
Oh, that's right.
So I also looked up what it was selling for back in the day, and it was surprisingly low. So it sold in '95. It sold for a little over $200,000.
Are you kidding me?
That was in '95. Yeah. And then after that, it starts to go up. So then, like the following year, clearly it was like a piece of shit, and someone fixed it up, because then the next year they sold it again, and it was doubled. It was like over 500,000.
Okay, that's when I graduated college. I should have put all my money into that. Instead, I sold my car and I moved to New York. I should have stolen from my parents.
Why didn't you steal? Why didn't you steal from your parents, Margo? Jesus.
Jesus,
you would be haunted by the ghost of Carter Hayes, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Fuck him. I'm actually not scared of ghosts. I ain't scared of ghosts. I'll bring it on.
So I got a question, because this happens right in the beginning, before you see Beverly D'Angelo's breast, you see a photo of Michael Keaton as a child with his brother, also a child, and an orangutan. and it's like Chekhov's monkey because it's like it never comes back.
I don't
but you
understand
keep expecting it to. It's like, is the monkey just in there to be like, oh guys, he's crazy. He has a pet monkey.
I thought the monkey was one of their brothers. Like it was. I don't know.
I just thought it was like a very permissive zoo that they went to, you know.
Or what if Carter Hayes was a monkey, but he evolved into a man?
Yeah.
There's the missing link.
Or like he was a werewolf, and the whole reason why the apartment was torn up was because of the full moon becomes a monkey.
There's like a whole other thing going on in this movie. I want to see that movie.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Asian family that moves in.
The perfect, nice little family.
They're beautiful. Yeah, they're sweet. But definitely I would want them as tenants. But like the way they're treated, especially the woman, is like overly obsequious and just, you know, never speaks English. I don't know. I don't know. I think you were talking about the racial politics of this film. And I thought, yeah, they don't question Michael Keaton for a second, but everybody else they have to check out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it exactly. It's like white male privilege.
But it's also trying to like have it both ways. Because it's like, oh, they're, you know, they like the filmmakers at the beginning, it's like white is normal and everything else is suspect. And then like at the end of the movie with the tenant who was trying to get Carter Hayes' apartment, and Melanie Griffith bumps into him and he's an African-American police officer. It's just like, see, you shouldn't have been judging him. We know you were judging him. It's like, no, movie, you were judging him, not us.
Also, she didn't judge him at all. Matthew Modine did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's super weird. So other weird things. So there's the picture of Michael Keaton with his monkey brother and his other brother. And then there's also like this thing where he's constantly like twirling razor blades between his fingers. And I'm like, is that just to let us know he's a psycho? Because it never comes up again.
Because there's also no reason for him to be sitting in the dark all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, they had the lights put back on.
It's weird.
What did he do in that apartment? That's something I'm completely confused by, because he barricades himself in there and he's got a buddy that's not Jamie Sheridan. And they're like, you know, they barely open the door when people come by and all that shit. And then they destroy it. They essentially just destroy it. But what was the purpose of that? I don't understand. He just did it just to make them crazy?
Because he wanted to get them to foreclose and then he would buy it for dirt cheap.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the thing that I think also, because I was wondering that too, where I was just like, this seems like small potatoes for like this guy to be doing, because his next, you know, grift is with Tippi Hedren, Melanie Griffith's mom, and she's worth like significantly more.
We know how much she's worth because they circle it in red.
Yeah.
I was thinking it's so convenient that he keeps files of everything he's done wrong, and he circles things in red, and
his fraud scrapbook that he brings to hotels.
Yes. And he's really into scrapbooking before it was cool. And he keeps stories about himself doing bad things or good things. Yeah, it's so weird.
The only thing I could think of, like, why he's doing this particular job is because it also shows that he steals people's identities. So maybe he's doing that just to, like, throw off a pattern, and, like, you know, he's using the previous identity on the next job and things like that. So I don't know.
I kept thinking there's easier ways to make money.
Yeah.
I'm like, go to a coffee shop, man. Go to a temp agency. It's easier.
Sell your car.
Sell that car. No shit.
Yeah.
Just stay with hot Beverly D'Angelo and live your life. What's wrong with you?
I don't know. Also, this scene has the scene that was in Malice later, where Bill Pullman goes to Anne Bancroft, and Anne Bancroft has to explain, like, the whole grifting operation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like every one of these con men movies has that scene where it's just like, we don't know how to give the audience all the clues, so we have to set up the expedition dump.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know, but it's kind of a trope I like at this point. You sort of expect it in these types of movies.
Yeah, that's her only role in the movie
Yeah.
is to explain, you don't know Carter Hayes. That's not even his real name. Here's his real name, and here's everything he's done, and here's where you can find him.
Yeah. Tell him I said hi.
Tell him I said hi.
Yeah. I do enjoy how much judges, police officers, lawyers, and everybody in this movie are so kind of impressed with Carter Hayes, where they're basically like, hey, Melanie Griffith, he's really good at this. Just let it happen.
Yeah, the cops are really all about tenants' rights. they take that shit very seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. They're
Melanie,
just like, they're like, he's a Svengali at this thing. Like, you should just enjoy watching an artist work.
She could be a cop. She's so good at tracking him down.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
That is like the best part of the movie.
I love it.
She decides to get her revenge and she's tracking him down. And I love when she's in the hotel and she orders all the food and,
champagne.
And the champagne, and she goes through all of his stuff and goes through his, fraud files. And it's like a little thing, but I like that she steals a chocolate off the pillow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I was like, that's a nice touch.
That, and she left a few bucks for the maid.
Yeah. Because she's good
that was
people.
Nicer. She is good people, and she's smart people, and she looks beautiful in the movie, too. I thought she looked great. I thought, why is she just sitting in that hotel lobby, not hiding behind a plant or anything? She's just sitting in a chair, overhearing she's great, like a bionic ear, picking up all that information.
I like the scene where she calls for the room service and then orders a bottle of champagne for everybody on Carter Hayes' floor, because the room service guy is doing like the best voice performance ever, because he's so excited about this order. And it's not like just a guy who works at the hotel. It's like, this is a story he's going to tell his grandkids. He's like, and then this one time, this nice woman called and she ordered so many bottles of champagne, and I was the hero that day.
What did you say? They're having 18 people for dinner or something like that? Yeah. Can you group that together? That's a below deck shit. that happens on below deck sometimes.
And she's so polite to the man on the phone too.
Oh yeah.
Do you have this on the menu? Oh, that sounds delicious. We'll get some of that. Like, I like how polite she is, and like you said, Margo, I love that she leaves a tip to the maid, which is really
First,
sweet.
she leaves the whole envelope, and then she's like, "I'm gonna need some cash. I'll leave her like $200 or $300. She deserves that much." She's very wily and wise. Like, everyone should just listen to her. She's also fixing that damn house, not Matthew Modine, because he doesn't know what he's doing.
True.
He gets shot by Michael Keaton. He gets beaten with a golf club with a Soundgarden video playing, which I appreciated that. But yeah, she has this is what I hate when they do this in movies, but she has a miscarriage because she's so stressed out.
Right.
And then she comes home and Matthew Modine didn't even clean the sheets, didn't take care of that for her.
He can't do anything. Dude can't even paint
useless.
A wall. He was painting the walls wrong. She had to keep correcting him. I'm like, dude, it's up and down. Up and down. Come on. God.
He's so, I know. When I saw those sheets, I'm like, oh, fuck this guy. He can't even throw them in the washer.
Yeah.
Make a bed for this woman.
And he says right after it happens, the doctor says we could try again in a few months. Fuck off. That's not what she wants to hear right now.
Okay. How about when she tells Laurie Metcalf, who basically tells her, you are fucking screwed, just let him do it.
Yeah.
And then she looks at her and goes, I had a miscarriage last night. And she just stares and goes, I know. Like, damn, no one gives a shit about her.
How does she know?
tells Melanie Griffith tells Matthew Modine that she's pregnant, and he just goes, well, I guess congratulations. It's like
that's what he says.
It's like, that's your reaction.
Such an asshole. And he's so stupid because she's sick, of course, right? They're telegraphing it to us. She's pregnant because she's sick. And she's like, well, I went to the doctor. And he's like, oh, So Carter Hayes hasn't paid. Like, he doesn't address that she went to the doc. Hey, do you maybe want to know what the doctor said to her, you dumb? Like, he's so stupid.
He's useless.
I like that this movie has a trope that a lot of these 90s thrillers had, which is the couple has like a friend whose sole purpose is just to like be a little bit more knowledgeable than them.
Not a lot.
Yeah, it's that guy that they go out to dinner with, and he's just like, let me tell you, he's like, this is what could happen. I can't really help you, but like, I'm sort of a lawyer, but kind of just your friend.
I'm sort of a lawyer. I watch a lot of Law and Order. Let me help you.
Yeah, it's so weird. And then he's just like, you guys got to get out of there. Like, you can't be at home with him and stuff. And then the next scene, it's like, he's just letting them go back to that place.
Yeah.
It's like, what friend is this? And then one of my favorite things is, okay, so this is after Modine gets arrested for assaulting Michael Keaton. And Michael Keaton puts out a restraining order, so Matthew Modine can't go anywhere near the building. So Modine goes to stay at this friend's apartment, and he's acting like they're having like this awesome sleepover, and they're like 10 years old, and he's just like, man, it's such a relief to get out of there. Meanwhile, Melanie Griffith is like going back in this place where like all the lights are off now because Carter Hayes is Bruce Wayne, and he needs his bat sleep.
Yeah. He's sitting there like, twirling his razor blades and all this, and she's back at the house. I'm like, why is she back at the house alone?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
and
having
Modine
his
is just
party.
like, have you ever slept on a fold-out couch? It's awesome.
Such an asshole.
He's so useless. That's all I could say about him. He's so completely useless.
Yeah.
And you nailed it at the beginning, Margo. It's like a soccer dad, and he gets mad at like the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And really confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to handle this now. No more talking. Understood? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? All of your decisions are poor decisions at some point. That confidence that he has in himself is incredible.
Mm-hmm. He has also like no poker face, because there's the thing with the roaches, which is so gross.
Yeah.
So gross. And they open up under the sink in their nice Japanese tenant's apartment, and there's like a million roaches to the point where it's so gross even the exterminator's horrified.
Starts screaming,
like,
yeah.
He's like, ah! Yeah, they all are. And he's like instantly starts losing his shit. And I'm like, keep it together, dude, in front of your tenant and handle it. But he can't. He just loses it. He's
weirdly enough, the part where Modine is like the calmest is when all the roaches fall on him, which should be a gift.
Oh, we can make one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just happens to crawl under the apartment and just happens to overhear Carter Hayes and
not Jamie
Sheridan.
Yeah,
having the whole conversation there, and then that shit falls on him. Oh, Jesus.
Also, he waited that long to go under the house.
Yeah.
Like, you could have done that from the beginning to see like what he's doing in there, or do something to like get some dirt on him to like get him kicked out or something. But you waited for how long before you thought of that idea? Anyway, I interrupted you. Sorry, Adam.
Oh, no problem. I was just going to say, I like the scene where Melanie Griffith is having a dialogue exchange with Laurie Metcalf, and they're at the courthouse. And then for no reason whatsoever, John Schlesinger is just like, this two shot's boring. I'm going to do a 360 spin.
Yep.
Did you notice that?
Yes.
I was just
it was a De Palma spin.
Yeah, I was just like, why?
Yeah.
They're talking about dumb shit, and and Laurie Metcalf's just telling her, can't help you. You're screwed. Can't help you. Mm-hmm. Oh, and guess what? We have to kick your boyfriend out, so you got to be alone in the house with this asshole. All right, do you need a lift home? I can do that.
Yeah, do you want to go back and stay at the house? Maybe Drake changed the sheets now. You can.
Oh, his name is Drake is so infuriating.
There's also a scene where Drake there's like a weird dream sequence.
Yes, that's the worst thing ever.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, is it a thing just so we can like get Melanie Griffith in a hot dress, or I don't know what's happening there.
She and Michael Keaton have way more chemistry.
Well, when he's allowed to like interact with people, because like that's another problem with the movie is that they've got him just like hidden so much.
Yeah.
Where, it should be more scenes where like he's allowed to, be out and kind of interacting with Melanie Griffith and just making Matthew Modine crazy.
So, originally they were going to make him bisexual and try to hit on the both of them, but then Schlesinger got rid of that idea.
That would have made it more interesting.
Made it much more interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what about the gay couple that shows up and they're upset because the walls aren't painted black? Like, that's the thing you would expect in a Victorian home. I mean, yeah. Some of the jokes were just like...
Yeah.
They hire the designer from St. Elmo's Fire to come over and put the neon Billy Idol on the wall. It was such a stereotype in the 80s. The gay designer friend.
I like in the final scene of this movie, like how it ends with, it's another thriller trope where you've got the next couple coming in, and the only reason why it's there is to give the audience credit for a second about how smart they are because they just watched the movie and know what happened. And it's just like, ha ha ha, look at those saps. Look at those dummies. Don't they know that we just saw everything at the 3 o'clock show? They're such a 5 o'clock show couple.
My favorite part of that was the new couple comments on how great the floor is. And they're both like, we had it redone. We totally didn't kill a man on this floor.
We totally didn't kill a man very, very slowly with so much time that he has reactions with his bug eyes and could probably tuck and roll and avoid falling on fight.
We didn't bury him under this floor with roaches.
I also like how the last shot, like it's like almost like the end credits establishing shot. It's right before the end credits. They go out to an exterior of San Francisco on the street, but it's like not the building anymore. But there's two guys playing a guitar.
Yeah,
on the
I'm
roof. It's just like, okay.
Are those the next grifters? Are they the next ones that are going to come along?
Yeah. So
with their guitar and everything. Yeah.
It's like they had those guys as sort of God, what do they call it? It's like the Greek chorus of the movie, but then they forgot to introduce them in the beginning.
Or in the middle or anywhere. They just lined up, land on them.
They're like, and that's just another story in Pacific Heights.
Well, so like what is it?
They're like the crypt keeper.
Yeah. Sonia, what is it about Pacific Heights that's known in San Francisco?
So
I mean, why
it is like the richy rich neighborhood. All the houses are really, really nice. They're really big, really clean and refurbished, and that's where you would find like a lot of those like Victorians. I mean, it's very similar to what they have in the movie, like, but if you live in San Francisco or spent any time in San Francisco, you know it's not Pacific Heights. But I guess they didn't want to call the movie Potrero Hill. So, but it is like the richy rich neighborhood. And then kind of on the outside of that is like Nob Hill. And then after that is the Tenderloin, which is like a notoriously not as awesome neighborhood. And they're always trying to like rename it like it's Lower Nob Hill. And everyone's like, we know what this is. You can't trick us.
No, my sister got married at City Hall in San Francisco. And my mom just wanted to save money. So she got a cheap hotel. And she texts me, I'm in New York. She texts me, she says, look out, this place is a total dump. And show up, and it's right by the Tenderloin. Yeah. And you could hear screaming. You could hear all kinds of stuff. We only spent one night together. And we were fine. We were totally fine. Right. But it's weird. And I don't know how it is in Chicago, but in San Francisco, just like a few blocks away, there's a lot of problems. And then all of a sudden you have these gorgeous mansions.
Yeah. And I feel like that's true in almost every city because people love to knock on the Tenderloin here. And there's a lot of awesome stuff in the Tenderloin. And it's got like a really rich history. It's really interesting. But it is also not as clean. And I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, it's also where like and this is unfortunate, but this is where like a lot of our like good theaters are. So like if you wanted to see like a Broadway type show, they're all in this neighborhood. So like people who come outside of San Francisco to come in and see Wicked or Book of Mormon or whatever, they're unfortunately coming to like the area of San Francisco that isn't the best. But that's true of so many neighborhoods. There's parts of New York that are super, not awesome, to say the least. And then there's parts that are super beautiful. And I think San Francisco's the same.
Well, she goes to the Tenderloin to try to get a loan from Dan Hedaya.
Yeah, national treasure.
National treasure, Dan Hedaya. So, we realize like they've got a lot of money problems, and that's what's kind of bugging them. That's the big thing for them.
Yeah.
And Carter Hayes.
Does this movie have like a certain local reputation in San Francisco, or is it just kind of like just as forgettable as it would be if it wasn't set in San Francisco?
There is like some interest, but it's not the same as, so people lose their minds here for like Mrs. Doubtfire. That's a big one. And then like Full House, which Full House wasn't even filmed here. I don't understand that, but like they filmed the credits here. So like people are like Full House. They like lose their minds for Full House. TV shows like Nash Bridges, but then other movies like Vertigo was filmed here. Dark Passage I think that was from the 40s with Humphrey Bogart. But I don't think Pacific Heights has the same cachet.
Okay.
Kind of like the Presidio.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Hotel Vertigo?
No.
No.
So the one time that I was in San Francisco, I was there like for an extended weekend after being in San Jose for work during the week. I was like, okay, I don't know where to stay. But then like I was looking up like movie stuff to do in San Francisco. So like it was, oh, this is the hotel where Vertigo was shot, and you could stay there. So I stayed that weekend at Hotel Vertigo, and I was terrified the entire weekend because it's like it's very retro, but it's also super claustrophobic, and like I couldn't get like any phone reception except out in the hallway, and like the room was about as tiny as like a really small studio apartment, like or not even studio apartment, just like a really tiny like bedroom / closet. And I remember when I was in San Francisco that weekend, it was and like you said, New York and Chicago are like this too, where it's like in one area you're just like, oh, this is so nice, and then like you turn the corner and it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, but I remember Hotel Vertigo being pretty creepy, and I wanted to move to like one of the chain hotels by Ghirardelli Square, but I didn't do it.
Well, those hotels are very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly what Margo said. Like you go a couple of blocks and it's wonderful, and then 2 more blocks and it's a nightmare, and then 2 more blocks and it's beautiful. It's a very strange town, but I love San Francisco, and I don't want to talk too much shit about the Tenderloin because there's really, really awesome stuff there, like good restaurants and bars and lots of history, but it is also known as kind of where there's like what are they called, SROs? A lot of those hotels are there, and it attracts an element, to say the least. Yeah.
I really liked Ghirardelli Square, and your Chinatown is incredible. And I went to the Castro movie theater, and that was awesome too.
I love the Castro movie theater.
They have the best double features there.
They really do. I miss movie theaters so much.
I do too.
I know.
When I went to the Castro, it was a double feature of Labyrinth, and then I forgot what the second movie was, but I only stayed for Labyrinth. But when Labyrinth was playing, when David Bowie's name came up, it was like a standing ovation.
Yeah.
And then when Jennifer Connelly's name came up, it was just like this crowd of boos, and I was like,
what?
I was really surprised because like I know like some people don't really like Jennifer Connelly, or they think she's kind of not terribly interesting, but I didn't think like she was bad in any way. But like people really did not like her. Maybe it was just her performance in Labyrinth because she's kind of a dweeb in that movie.
I think that's it. She was a little stiff too. She kind of got it. She got to be a much better actor as she went along. As a teenager, she was a little stiff. That's what I remember. But Bowie's always so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Castro's amazing. I love that place.
It's really nice. Yeah.
No, and I've seen some of my best concerts in San Francisco. I mean, the city is fantastic. It is a really fun city.
I want to go to the ballpark so bad.
Me too.
If you ever come to visit, we will go to the ballpark together. I love going to the ballpark.
Could we go on Carter Hayes bobblehead night?
And bringing it back.
I love it. And it's got like little roaches around the base of it. And I love it. Yes. I hope they have Pacific Heights night. I'll email them and ask, hey, can we get a Pacific Heights night? Presidio night? Because they totally do stuff like that, though. They do like, they love Nash Bridges here still. That's a thing.
It's like Carter Hayes is on the pitching mound and he won't leave.
Matthew Modine is the umpire that screams at everybody. Strike! It is a strike!
That would be so fun.
Oh, it's so great.
I'm going to get a Giants jersey that just says Hayes on the back.
They'll probably think you're Charlie Hayes.
But when they ask me, I'll say, no, Carter Hayes, from Pacific Heights. And then there'll be crickets and they'll walk away.
Yeah. I have to ask you too, what are your thoughts on Melanie Griffith, like, overall?
I love her.
I do too. I love Melanie Griffith.
She has a kooky quality to her.
Yeah.
There's a kookiness to her that I really, really respond to that nobody else really has. I think she's a lot smarter than people give her credit for. Like the character of Tess, I think that's a lot like her.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was friends with her. I think she'd be a cool friend to have.
Mm-hmm.
I like her. She does this thing, and Dakota Johnson does this thing too, that she got from, I think, Melanie Griffith, where they sort of do something, but then they do these like grace pauses where it's like you're supposed to just kind of like soak in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it distracts me. I don't know.
I think I can't not look at her when she's on screen. I think she's so interesting. And that's why Matthew Modine is such a like jar of mayonnaise in this movie. Like, he's
and
just
I like Matthew Modine normally.
Yeah, it's if we wanted to watch Married to the Mob or something, like, I think he's pretty good in that. But like, he's so boring in this movie, and when he's not boring, he's a prick.
Yeah.
She needs someone with more personality to be opposite her.
She needs a guy. She's got champagne taste. She's an equestrian for a living. So she's got to be one of the older guys, like one of her students, one of their, dads that's, a widower, and can take care of her properly and won't scream at her all the time for stupid shit.
I think she's going to hook up with that cop.
I'd watch that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It would be great if they showed like a scene of how Melanie Griffith and Matthew Modine met, and it was just like one of his kites got loose and landed like in the ranch. And then it flew in her face or something. Yeah, it flew in her face. And then she's like, the horse was neighing. And then Matthew Modine is just like, God damn it, stupid horse ruined my kite.
I can't believe at no point does he like yell at Carter Hayes and tell him to go fly a kite.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And then gives him a kite.
He like ties a bunch of kites to his fingers and makes them fly away.
I fixed it, honey.
Yeah, he's like, honey, be quiet. I know what I'm doing.
He does that several times, by the way. He tells her to shut up because he knows what he's doing. Not shut up. But, he shuts down the conversation when she's asking totally reasonable questions. Oh, God, I hate him so much in this movie. He's so fucking useless.
He really is the villain.
Yeah, he's the real villain.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys ever have any, like, really awful neighbors? Like not as bad as Carter Hayes, but... Or maybe you have had someone like a Carter Hayes. I don't know. You've had many, Margo?
Yeah, I've been in this apartment for over 20 years, so it's like changed. Right now it's almost empty. It's kind of creepy, but yeah, I've had like families of 5 live above me. When I first moved here, the guy that lived downstairs from me smoked skunk weed that would come up into my living room. And he would blare Joni Mitchell of all people, like super loud, Joni Mitchell. Put up a parking lot.
Oh boy.
We don't need to scream this, dude.
What about you?
I've lived in my current building for about 13 years, and I've had some weird people where I'll go down to get my laundry and it's all gone, and then somebody showed up at my door and was just like, "Hey, I got your laundry," and I'm like, "Why didn't you just leave it there?
Why are you touching my laundry?"
And then I had to go do my laundry again because I was freaked out. And then I have a woman who lives below me now who knocked on my door one night at 10 o'clock and said that I was disturbing her sleep, even though I was sleeping and not doing anything.
And then, that's great.
Yeah, and then she was just like, "Open the door," and I was like, "No," and I didn't know she lived below me in the apartment unit, and she's just like, "Open the door," and I'm like, "Do you know how suspicious you sound? I'm not opening the door." And then she's just like, "I'm a woman, what could I do?" And I'm like, "That sounds even worse."
Yeah.
So, you could be armed.
Yeah. So then I just said, "If you have a problem, call the police or call the office, but I'm not opening the door." Yeah. And then she went and went to the elevator to go back to her place, I suppose.
Good call.
So
my next door neighbor, Erin, she had these 2 guys that lived above her. We live near a hospital. They're both doctors, and they have those really weird shifts, like 12, 14-hour shifts. And one of them could never figure out that he was in 3C, not 2C, and would use his key to try to get in. And she'd see it was midnight or 1 a.m, and he's jamming the key in her door. We have these steel doors in our apartment. It would terrify her. It did it. They did. I think they were drunk, but they did it over and over again. And that's why they had to put huge numbers on all of our doors. And because of these idiots, for years, everyone else could figure it out. Yeah.
We had the only one. I was trying to think of my crazy neighbor stories, and the best one I could come up with was in college. I was roommates with former co-host of Dorking Out, Smith, and I had an apartment with another girl. And across the hall from us were these guys who I think they sold pot. They were always smoking, and they were getting knocks on the door all time, all day, all night. And sometimes people would come and knock on our door, and I was like, "No, your dealer's right across the hall from us here." But the big thing was, so they were constantly playing the Coolio song from Dangerous Minds.
Ooh.
The as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and something. Yeah, Gangster's Paradise. That's what it was. So every day, all the time, that song. And then one day we were home, and I was out on the deck, and I looked out, and a whole bunch of police cars pulled into the lot, and I was like, "What's happening?" And it was crazy. It was armed police officers came out and swept through our apartment out of a movie, and they busted these guys for pot. It was I was like, "What is happening?" It was crazy. And they were knocking on doors and telling us to get down and all that. And I was like, "It's for pot. What are you talking about?"
It's for weed. Jesus Christ.
It was so weird. And I was like, "I don't want to stay at this apartment anymore." So when our lease was up, we moved away. But
maybe the cops were looking for the Coolio CD.
Maybe. They were like, "Look, we're getting a lot of complaints. You were playing Gangster's Paradise too much."
Yeah.
I loved Weird Al Yankovic's version of it.
Yeah.
And then I loved how indignant Coolio was that someone would make fun of his song.
Yeah, shut up, Coolio.
He had no sense of humor about it. I know.
I saw Coolio at a convention once, and he was playing music at his table, and it was "This is the new stuff." And I'm like, okay.
Was someone who considering how he wore his hair, you would think he would have a good sense of humor, but he doesn't.
Yeah, it'd be more fanciful.
Yeah. No. But I did like his remake of Fantastic Voyage. That shit is a bop.
That's the jam.
In '96, I was on vacation in Los Angeles with my family, and I remember the entire trip, there were like countless billboards for Coolio's movie Fat Beach.
PHAT?
Yeah. And that's like one of my white whales. And now that I just remembered that, I kind of want to watch Fat Beach.
I'm writing down Fat Beach.
Yeah.
Let me know how it is.
I have so many of these movies where it's like, for whatever reason, I just remember them from like when I was growing up. I never got around to seeing them. Like I just knocked one of those off my list this morning because I watched Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland, and that movie's nuts.
Did you like it?
I mean, like when it wasn't super racist, I kind of liked it, but it's like it's strange because it's one of those movies where it was like a Japanese animation studio and then it sat on the shelf for 3 years and then like they did an American edit of it. But like it exchanged so many hands that like there's certain moments in it that are incredible because you've got like Brad Bird and like George Lucas and Hayao Miyazaki and stuff like that, like all had their hands in it at one point. So it'll go from just the most banal like Saturday morning cartoon to like some of the greatest animation you've ever seen.
But
it's on Amazon Prime.
But it also has random racism. So
there's one character that looks like sort of minstrel iconography sort of, and he's voiced by Mickey Rooney, and like the entire and
he's
the
on
entire
our list for what a creep.
and his entire character it's more the design that's questionable, but then like how once you see that, you start to notice like how every white character in the movie is treating him, and it's just like, oh, there's some real deep racism in this movie. So it was it was an experience for sure.
Did you want to hear about some of the other movies of 1990?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if we've done other 90s movies, so I'm going to do the top 10. Number 10 was Kindergarten Cop.
I love it.
It's a good one.
I love it, yeah.
I know Adam loves this one. Number 9 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
The original's the best.
Never seen it.
I watched it as part of F This Movie Fest, and I hadn't seen it since the theater, and I was like, this movie's fun.
I was so sad during F This Movie Fest when that was on because I thought that it would like bring the roof down or is that the right phrase?
Yeah.
No, raise the roof.
Blow the roof.
Raise the roof.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like had a good but not great reception, and I was sad.
I had so much fun watching that movie. That movie was actually kind of a surprise to me. That one, and then rewatching Avatar, which I hadn't seen since the theater.
I loved rewatching Avatar. That was so much fun. That was on my birthday, Patrick's birthday too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Avatar was for Patrick's birthday. That wasn't part of this movie. That's right.
Yeah, everybody needs to see Avatar through Patrick Bromley's eyes just once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I saw it in the theater, I was like, oh, it looks beautiful, but it's stupid. And then when I rewatched it, I was like, this movie is wearing its heart on its sleeve. I'm like, how can you hate it? I was like, I feel like a dick. I changed my mind. So number 8 is Presumed Innocent.
I still need to see that. I haven't seen it.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
That would be a good 90s thriller revisit.
Totally.
Number 7 is Die Hard 2.
I like that one.
I do too.
I haven't seen it in a really long time, but I remember liking it at the time. This one I did not. Back to the Future Part 3.
It's okay.
Yeah. It's all right.
All right. I won't revisit. Number 5, Total Recall.
That's awesome.
That one's awesome. Number 4, Dances with Wolves.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We can't go a whole episode without talking about Costner. Number 3 is Pretty Woman.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Very watchable movie.
It really is.
It's so watchable, yeah.
It is. Number 2 is Home Alone.
Love
Wonderful.
It is. And number 1 is Ghost.
Love it.
Ghost that's been on our list for a long time. We'll
definitely get to it.
We will get to Ghost eventually.
I started watching Ghost before it was like leading up to F This Movie Fest this year, which was like 1990 movies. And I wanted just to watch some stuff that we weren't watching in the marathon. So I remember I started watching Ghost on like a Friday night, and it was like January 31st. And then on Saturday morning, which I think was February 1st, it went off of Prime, and I didn't finish it. And I was just like, what am I gonna do? Oh yeah, just
oh no.
But it was the first time that's ever happened to me.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I love that
ready
movie.
for the top songs
Yes.
of 1990?
Yeah.
These are my favorites, but these were all hits from the 90s. 1990, excuse me. Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares to You.
Awesome.
Beautiful song. Depeche Mode, Enjoy the Silence. That Violator album, CD, excuse me, I played the shit out of it.
Yeah, you couldn't get away from that.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Digital Underground, Humpty Dance.
Digital Underground's one of my faves. I love them.
Go West, King of Wishful Thinking. That's from the Pretty Woman soundtrack. I fucking love that song.
I love that song too.
Wonderful.
I love it. George Michael, Freedom 90, one of the best songs ever of all time.
Margo,
that's a good one.
Margo, you and I could just sit around and listen to music together. We have all the same.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
Same.
And my last one from them, I love this. Belle Biv DeVoe, Poison. Such a good song.
That should have been in Pacific Heights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he's playing music too loud, and it's just like.
All the Belle Biv DeVoe songs from that year. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they come downstairs, and Modine's like frothing at the mouth, and then Carter Hayes is like, "If I were you, I'd take precaution," and then he'd shut the door.
I like your version of this movie better.
Yeah.
I am so glad you came on to talk about Pacific Heights, Adam.
I'm glad that you gave me a spot to talk about Pacific Heights.
Where can people find you on the internet?
I'm on the website fthismovie.com. That's the letter F this movie. I'm on podcasts every once in a while, and then I write 2 weekly columns there. And then you can find me at Riske Adam on Twitter.
And Margo, where can people find you?
On social media, you can find me at Brooklyn Fit Chick, and that's mostly for Twitter and Instagram. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com.
And you can find both of us at whatacreep.com. And we have a Patreon page, a merch store, all those fun things. We're having a lot of fun over at What a Creep. And you can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram, where I post photos of bread and Animal Crossing. And you can email dorkingoutshow@gmail.com, and you could give us some reviews on Apple Podcasts, and I'll be your best friend. This was super fun. I think, Adam, I think we already have you on the calendar for September to talk about the Pelican Brief.
I'm excited. I've never seen it.
Ooh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So you should tell them that if they want stickers, you guys send us an email. We'll send you some Dorking Out stickers.
Yes, thank you. Margo always reminds me of this. dorkingoutshow@gmail.com. We have wonderful stickers. Margo has ordered some really good ones. They're like holographic.
They're rad.
They're super rad. They're totally dope. Does anyone else have anything else to say about Pacific Heights before we go?
No, I think we said it all.
Yeah, I'm tapped out.
Just let me handle this. I got it.